It's about 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up doing some editing in between chapters of my book. You can see what I'm working on right here. And you can see all the ones that I still have yet to go. It's about 45 in book 1. Continuing up from book 0. But I thought I would take a little break in between that and do this quiz here, since I'm a fan of D&D. What kind of D&D character would you be? I thought I'd do this as a recording just to put more stuff up on my channel. Maybe you guys would be interested in that. It says this survey will determine your ability scores, fantasy, race, class, alignment, and character level. So I'm just going to go through these and answer them. If there are any that would be sort of revealing of my identity, I'm just going to cut those out, but otherwise you get to follow along. Now on to the survey. As far as looks go, I am ugly, average, attractive, extremely attractive. Well, damn. I'm going to answer that one off screen and let you wonder about that. When it comes to memory, I have a really hard time remembering things. I remember most things. I remember just about everything. I have a photographic, well, I wish I had a photographic memory. I actually have a really hard time remembering things, which makes it difficult when I'm writing. Yeah, I actually have to keep lists of things and appendices of all the spells and vehicles I have, because it's hard to remember all that stuff. If I had a photographic memory, that would be no problem. The following statement most accurately describes me. I have an extremely difficult time making new friends. I make friends fairly easily, engage in small talk. Well, I hate small talk. After meeting me, people go out of their way to keep in touch with me. I make new friends everywhere I go. Even though I'm not particularly fond of small talk, I do tend to make friends fairly easily. When it comes to willpower, I have no vices and I've never been tempted by anything. I have no vices, but I've been tempted by things from time to time. I have some vices and hard time avoiding temptation and give in too often. Depends on the vice. There are certain vices I do have that I give in too easily. You know what? We're just going to say I have some vices and I come rarely. Rate your persuasiveness. I can make people do almost anything I want them to do. I have an easy time convincing others to see things my way. Convince others to do things my way some of the time. I used to be that person, but since adopting the persuasion filter and studying marketing and psychology, I've gotten a lot better at that. I can pretty much make anyone do what I want at this point. The following statement most accurately describes my health. I'm sick most of the time. I can't remember ever being... Well, that one's not true because I can remember times when I was sick. I don't get as sick as often as most people, so I have missed days of work due to illness in the past, but not recently. For the purposes of this and the way that they word it, I'm going to go with I can't ever remember being sick, because I'm usually pretty healthy. When it comes to stamina, I'm able to exercise with no efforts. I have a hard time running. I regularly exert myself physically and enjoy doing so. Physically exert myself all day. I don't know. How far are we running? Go with that. I do yoga pretty regularly and stretching and stuff. When it comes to leadership, I've never been in a leadership position. I perform adequately when I'm the leader. People look to me for direction instinctively, go out of their way to put me in leadership positions. That. Rate your learning ability. I can learn new things very quickly. I learn as fast as everyone else, it seems. I am constantly learning new subjects at an astounding rate. I have a hard time learning new things. I'm constantly learning new subjects at an astounding rate because I make my entertainment about learning things. When it comes to my problem-solving abilities, my critical thinking skills are absolutely flawless. I don't even need to read the other ones. How tough are you? I could take punches that would drop normal people. I've taken massive blows and kept on fighting. I'm not fragile. When people joking, you hit me, they hurt me. No. Well, actually, I'm not fragile. But I have been in fights before. I wouldn't say they were massive fights, but I studied martial arts for a number of years and I've actually had to use that. Take punches that would drop normal people. My body is, I'd say pretty good shape. When it comes to common sense, well, here's the problem with that, is common sense is not a thing. Everybody thinks they have common sense and nobody else apparently does. So that's sort of a loaded question. People seem to know more than I do. I rarely make the same mistake twice. People always come to me for advice. I am exceptionally shrewd and cunning. Well, I am shrewd and cunning, but this one is more positive. Rate your sensory perception ability. I'm aware of most things that occur to me. I have the keenest senses of anyone I know. I have extremely poor awareness of my surroundings. I easily spot details that others miss. This, which if you'd read my blog, you know I do that quite regularly. I can lift. Typically when I play D&D, I don't like to play strong brutish characters like barbarians or fighters. I tend to go for characters with dexterity, charisma, or intelligence. When it comes to sprinting, I am not Tom Cruise. The following statement most accurately describes me. My insight concerning life is almost supernatural. My gut feelings are always right. I have a hard time judging people's intentions. Sometimes my gut feelings are right. I'm very empathetic and spiritually aware. And usually when I talk to people, I can get them to drop their guard pretty easily within a short amount of time. When it comes to hand-eye coordination, well, I can't juggle well, but I'm not horrible at video games. I would say I'm above average, but I'm not an Olympian. Average. Based on what I know, I interpret this to mean, we're gonna go with that as being like slightly above average. This statement accurately describes me. I had the highest GPA in my class. I was a good student. Average, bad, good student. The following statement most accurately describes my tolerance for alcohol. I used to be very tolerant of alcohol, but as I've gotten older, I don't really drink as much. I don't really find a need to drink that much outside of social occasions. So as a result, my tolerance has gone down. But I usually stop myself before I hit my limit anyway. So we're going to go with that one. The following statement describes the amount of physical labor I regularly perform. engage in difficult labor all during the week. My job involves physical labor. I've worked jobs that involve a lot of physical labor. At the moment, I don't. I'm going to say I get enough exercise. Could always do with more exercise, but you get the idea. When it comes to reflexes, my reflexes have literally saved my life on more than one occasion. If I punched someone as hard as I could in the throat, I would definitely kill them. In fact, I might even kill them. The following statement most accurately describes my athletic ability. I was picked to play for a professional sports team. When being picked for a team, I'm always picked first. When others know of my ability, I have some athletic... not noteworthy. It's worse to be weak or fragile. It's a tough one. Is it worse to be weak or fragile? They kind of mean the same thing, really. I guess weakness refers to strength and fragility refers to constitution. I would say fragility. It's better to be graceful or tough. I would say graceful. Although, again, it depends on the situation. What do you mean by tough? Do you mean like physically tough, or do you mean like emotionally tough? Because emotional toughness is very important. But tact is also important in certain situations. But you don't want to be politically correct either. Say graceful. Is it better to have strength or stamina? It's better to be physically powerful, physically agile. Well, physically agile, because if they can't hit you, then it doesn't matter how strong they are. In fact, when I studied martial arts, they used that example of being on a train track and moving off the line and getting out of the way of the train. So we actually had masters come into our school who could punch through literally solid brick walls and kill people with their bare hands, but it didn't matter if they couldn't hit you. All that strength was for nothing. It's worse to be unliked or weak. Depends on the situation, because charisma is obviously a very useful quality. If you can get people to do your bidding, it doesn't matter how strong you are. But weakness in what sense? In a physical sense, in an emotional sense? There are many different ways you could be weak. So I would say it's worse to be weak. If you're unliked, I mean, you could survive as a loner as long as you're strong. My friends would say that I am dependable and loyal, down to earth, worldly and diplomatic, zany and fun, wild and crazy, sharp and witty. I always hate these questions where they say my friends would say that I am, because it involves mind reading and thinking of what other people think of you, which they might have a different opinion of you than you think you have of you. But since I'm basically answering this for myself, I would probably say they think that I am sharp and witty. Sarcasm, because beating the shit out of people is illegal. For my height, my frame is average. I seem to have a knack for military, academics, entertainment, law, business, crime, mingling in high society, hanging out in low society, something else. Law, yes. Business, no. Academics. Mingling, something else. Something else. I'm wondering if this is related to, like, backstory. For my gender, I am of medium height. It's worse to be too skinny, too stocky. If by stocky you mean like obese, then I would say it's probably worse to be obese. too skinny, thinking of like starving children in Africa. They both have serious problems. Depends on the extreme. That's a tough one. If you're too skinny, all you have to do is eat more. If you're too stocky, all you have to do is eat less. It's easier to eat more than to eat less, assuming that you have the availability of resources. Not stuffing your face requires willpower, and people generally have too little willpower, so I'm going to go with that. Is it better to be smart or strong? Smart. Work smarter, not harder. In high school, I was jock, hood, band member, nerd, outcast, preppy, something else. Well, the funny thing about my high school is that I went to a pretty prestigious school, and about 90% of the population there was all nerds. So within that, I guess, would still be kind of a nerd. The wilderness is a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. Yes, I like the suburbs. It is better to take a stand for what you believe in, try to see both sides of an issue. Depends on the situation, but in general, I would say it's better to try and see both sides of an issue, because you don't know everything. Someone else may have insights and information that you do. But it's also important to take a stand for what you believe in if you're working from first principles. It is better to be rich, powerful. False dichotomy, because wealth is power. So I guess power. I use the force of my personality to get what I want, to guide others in making the right decisions. Making the right decisions, which happens to be what I want. It is better to defend the weak or help the poor. Well, again, going back to the idea that wealth is power. If you're poor, you're weak. So defend the weak. If you're poor, you just have no money. If you're weak, you're essentially helpless. So, assuming you're not completely helpless, you should be able to at least rise up out of poverty through hard work and the application of skills. Civilization makes us stronger, weaker. It's sort of like that line of bad times make strong men make good times make weak men make bad times. So if you think about somewhere like California, for instance, where it's basically liberal la-la land and people have become very soft and squishy, thinking about RK selection, I would have to say civilization probably makes us weaker in that sense. You think about cities tend to be very liberalized, whereas out in the country, you're much more hardened away from civilization. You have to depend on yourself a lot more. So I would say civilization actually makes us weaker on an individual basis. Collectively, it makes us stronger. It is better to confront your enemies openly and honestly using guile and wit. Depends on the situation and depends on what they're trying to do. If they're trying to murder you, probably using guile and wit. I would say start out openly and honestly, but then if they decide to deal with you dishonestly, then resort to guile and wit. But I've had a lot of success with just random strangers and trolls using guile and wit, so tough decision. It says it is better to confront your enemies, probably openly and honestly. Being open and honest isn't necessarily mutually exclusive from using guile and wit. I work out so that I will be healthier, so that I will be more attractive. False dichotomy. Animals deserve our respect, are delicious. They deserve our respect and are delicious. I have dogs, so we'll go with deserve our respect. In my job, I rely more on education, common sense. Common sense. Which is not so common, and again, is not a thing that exists. But I know what they mean. I think it would be interesting to have a supernatural experience. Yes, and I have had several. What is more important in life? Feeling emotions, being disciplined. Well, if we're talking about trait conscientiousness and its correlation to success, then being disciplined would be more important. But, being in touch with your emotions is also important. I guess if you're in touch with your emotions, you would be aware of your level of conscientiousness. Again, that's a tough one, the way that it's worded. Go with feeling emotions. I'm going to get flack from that one. Personal power comes from living a disciplined life, having confidence in yourself. Personal power. And if you live a disciplined life, you can build up your skills, but having skills doesn't necessarily mean you have the confidence to act on them. And if you don't have the confidence to act on them and actually apply them, then you don't really have power. So having confidence in yourself, and I can say that as somebody who for the longest time had no power because they had no confidence in themselves. The universe is ruled by a higher power, scientific laws. Again, false dichotomy, because scientific laws are a higher power. But for the purposes of what they mean by this, I'll say a higher power. Which do you prefer, New Age religion, Eastern religion? I've actually studied most major world religions and a few minor religions as well. Some of them Eastern, some of them more Western and Afrikanans and so forth. New Age is sort of a combination of all of those, so we'll go with New Age. What is more important in life, wisdom or wealth? Well, if you were wise, you would know to have wealth and save wealth instead of just squandering it. What is more important in life, love or honor? Love is more foundational, but honor is important too. Choose a statement. I love the city, I hate the city. Well, if it's between those two extremes, I would say I love the city. I live close to New York, and I frequent there a lot. I wouldn't want to live there necessarily, but it's nice to visit. Would you cheat on an important test? Depends. Will I get caught? And what are the stakes? If it's that important, probably yes. In a fight, it is better to keep your head and wait for opportune moments. Go at it with keep your head, obviously. I am more confident at work, at play. It is more important to support your cause with facts or conviction. Facts don't care about your feelings. But facts are also not persuasive. So, unfortunately, persuasion is not an option here. I mean, it is more important to support your cause with facts, because otherwise you're engaged in sophistry, and that's not really good. I would rather live in the city and the country. I'd rather live in the suburbs, honestly, but between the two of those, probably the country. Religion is an institution that allows some people to exploit the fear of others, helps people live meaningful lives. Religion is actually both of those things, or can be, depending on the person. Some people use it to exploit the fear of others. Others find comfort and consolation in having faith in a higher power. It depends where you are and what level of consciousness you're at. Generally, I think that religion is something that should be transcended, though, in lieu of a more personal and direct relationship with the spirit. So I'm going to say allows some people to exploit the fear of others. Choose a statement. Man is stronger than nature. Nature is stronger than man. As George Carlin said, try telling the people in Pompeii who are frozen in ash who is stronger. Nature is obviously stronger and will kill you the first chance she gets. Choose a statement. Technology is stronger than nature. Nature is stronger than technology. That's an interesting question, because human beings generally use technology to overcome the limitations of nature. So, I mean, if you think about Clarke's third law and sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, but nature essentially encompasses everything, including our technology. So again, nature is stronger than technology. If we're talking in aggregates, obviously within sort of limited scope, it would be different. There's a right way to do things and a wrong way to do things. Yes. It is better to actively champion a cause, live as a good example to others. I would argue that living as a good example is a cause to champion. Think about like Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, people like that. I would rather spend 2 hours learning something new, leisurely jogging. Learning something new. In fact, I do that quite regularly. I'd rather spend 2 hours alone in the wilderness, alone working with my hands. Why can't I be alone in the wilderness working with my hands? Like building a tree house or something. That would be pretty fun. I'd rather spend 2 hours working with my hands, because I can do that anywhere, even out in the wilderness alone. Choose a statement. I love technology. I hate technology. Well, as your favorite dark transhumanist, I wonder which one of these I will pick. Of course I love technology. I would rather spend 2 hours playing a sport, reading a book. Sports. No. I do enjoy playing sports. I hate watching sports. I also don't do a lot of reading, come to think of it. But between those two, I would probably prefer reading. It is better to fight fair, fight dirty. Define better. Better in a moral sense or better in a survival sense? I mean, if you're going to try and if you're fighting in an exhibition, I would say it's better to fight fair. But in terms of the greater real world application, do what you have to. Which do you prefer? Eastern religion, Western religion? That's a tough one too. Again, having studied most religions. I do like Taoism a lot. I also like astrotheology a lot. Paganism is pretty cool. I assume by Western religion they mean like Judeo-Christianity, Islam, various sorts of like Norse and Greco-Roman polytheism and so forth. I mean, I kind of like them all, to be honest, but if I had to pick one that at least among the major religions that I most strongly identify with, it would probably be Taoism, honestly. So, Eastern it is. But I do know a great deal about and like a lot of the Western religions, too. It is better to be yourself, be polite. Why can't yourself be polite? I'd rather watch a nature documentary, a scientific documentary. Aren't most nature documentaries scientific? Biology is a science. In a fight, it is better to be quick or tough. I think we answered this one already. I'd rather spend 2 hours hiking a trail discussing philosophy. I'd rather spend 2 hours discussing philosophy on a hiking trail. In my job, I use tools and equipment. Do not use tools and equipment. My computer counts as equipment, so I'd rather spend 2 hours at the gym, at church. Honestly, I would not like to spend 2 hours at either of those things. If you count yoga class, though, I guess the gym. I would rather be well paid doing something I enjoy. I would rather be well paid for doing something I enjoy. If I'm well paid, I could probably enjoy it, but if I think about the way that I actually live my life, doing something I enjoy. Having money is great, but having meaning in your life is more important. Choose a statement. Nature should be left unspoiled, undisturbed. Nature should be used responsibly and enjoyed. Responsibly and enjoyed. I'd rather spend 2 hours camping with my friends, drinking with my friends. I'd rather spend 2 hours drinking with my friends out camping. Don't drink a whole lot, but I've actually done that more often than I've done camping with my friends. What I'd rather do. I'd rather be camping with my friends. If you want to make a lot of money, it is important to be educated. Educated in what sense? In the collegiate sense? No. Because there are plenty of people who've made billions of dollars who are essentially high school, college dropouts. So obviously that's not as important. It's better to be intelligent and have high trait conscientiousness, to be industrious and to solve complex problems. If by educated they mean learned skills, then yeah, probably overthinking this. Just say true. It's better to be educated than not. It is easier for me to learn by doing, by studying, by doing. People learn better by doing. In fact, the opening quote in my book is about that very thing, that you will learn more through practice than by rules. When I was young, I performed better in math and science class, music and art class. Well, when I was young, we didn't really have art class, although I eventually went to art school. But when I was young, math and science. I was a pretty good singer when I was young, too. Which do you prefer, Western religion, New Age religion? Didn't we answer this already? Do you enjoy reading? So, on my blog, I have a dark transhumanist reading list, which is a number of books that I enjoy. I don't actually read a lot, but when I do, I enjoy it. Yes, no. I guess if the answer was yes, I would do it more. I'd rather spend a night on the town, a day riding horses. Can I spend a night riding horses on the town? Night on the town. When I was young, I enjoyed gym class. Yes, because we played dodgeball, which we don't do anymore. Life is about improving yourself, having fun. Why are those mutually exclusive? Why can't improving yourself be fun? In fact, if you're doing it right, improving yourself is very fun. Mm, See, for me, this is complicated because I actually make improving myself a form of fun. Say improving yourself. Because sometimes improving yourself is not fun, but it's still important. I'd rather spend 2 hours enjoying the outdoors at a good concert. I'd rather spend 2 hours enjoying an outdoor concert. One of my friends just went to the Marilyn Manson concert, and then she also went to the Evanescence and Lindsey Sterling concert. She said that was really good. I was kind of jealous I didn't get to go to either of those. I mean, at a good concert outdoors, there's more to do outdoors, including go to a good concert. Conan, what is best in life? I mean, what is important in life? Practical skills, enlightenment. Well, if you're enlightened, you would develop practical skills. And enlightenment itself is a practical skill, so I use the force to move things with my mind. No, wait. I use the force of my personality to convince people that I'm right, to entertain others. Both. I mean, my books are at once pop culture entertainment, but they're also used to educate people. So probably that's more important. I mean, I hate the way that this is worded, to convince people that I'm right, not to lead people to the truth. That sounds very narcissistic and egoistic, but hopefully people get entertainment value out of the work that I do. I put my faith in higher power myself. Higher power because higher power is more powerful than myself and smarter and just better in every possible way. I would be an idiot to trust myself over the collective intelligence of the universe. Family elders are expressing disapproval of you to the rest of the family. Oh no, whatever will I do? Do you accept the criticism and change your ways? Seek compromise with them? Probably that. Besmirch the reputation of those expressing disapproval as you ignore their scorn. Depends on who's doing it. I could think of a few people that I would probably do that with. Silence them any way you can. Probably seek compromise. Would you give up a promising career to aid the family in time of need? I have actually literally done that, so yes, with some reluctance. To betray a family member to advance your own career? No. I'd find that idea abhorrent. Do you respect the leaders of your family? They're role models for me. They're often out of touch with my life. Well, that's certainly true. They're out of touch with reality sometimes. But I mean, family is your primary role model, for better or worse. I mean, they're not my only role models. The people in my portraits gallery are more my role models, I would say. I don't necessarily like the way that these are worded. Their words guide my actions basically makes it sound like a cult. They're often out of touch. It's funny because my grandmother actually has taken a lot of interest in my book, which I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, given some of the subject matter. We'll see. If your family had arranged your marriage to someone disgusting, would you go through with it, agree, subtly work against the union, flee? Probably flee. That said, within my family, if arranged marriages were a thing, there's somebody that I can think of that would probably have been the person that I was arranged to, and I would have actually been okay with that decision, knowing this person. You're estranged from a family member. On his deathbed, he seeks reconciliation. Do you speak to him but hold your ground, refuse to speak to him, discuss your estrangement openly and without rancor, actively seek reconciliation and heed his dying words? I don't think I would just do whatever they say. I also wouldn't refuse to speak to them because, I mean, you know, they're on their deathbed and they're asking you for forgiveness, so depend on how sincere they are. Speak to them but hold your ground. Discuss your estrangement openly without rancor. Depends on who it is. I mean, if they're estranged from me, my feeling is that they probably did something to deserve that. Speak to them but hold your ground. Powerful but corrupt lawyer offers you money if you'll testify against your friend. Okay, so the first question you would have to ask is how much money? I know that sounds terrible, but you would at least want that information, right? And it would also depend on what you're testifying against them with. So obviously, if they were offering you like $1,000 to put them away for life for murder and they didn't do it, that would be abhorrent. Whereas if they were offering you like $1 billion to testify that they hit somebody's car, you know, obviously those are two very different situations. Your friend would probably even encourage you to betray them for $1 billion in that case. Condemn your friend, take the money and testify. Try to keep your testimony ineffective. Refuse to offer and refuse to testify. Testify on your friend's behalf no matter the consequences. So here's the thing. You could take the money and testify, but if you word it in such a way that it's ineffective, you would be testifying on their behalf. I mean, that's kind of a sleazy thing to do, but if they're that powerful a lawyer, they would probably see through your ruse anyway. Knowing myself, I would probably do this one. I would probably try to game the system and then just deliberately sabotage the testimony. Except knowing what I know about the law, having studied it for a number of years, you know, if they're any good at being a lawyer, they'll probably only give you the money if this person winds up being convicted. So it's also generally not good to talk to the police because anything you say can and will be used against you. Witness testimony is also some of the least reliable forms of evidence. So, and given the likelihood of this scenario, probably just refuse the offer and refuse to testify. Do you become close to friends or hold most people at a safe distance? I have an abundance of close friends. I have some close friends. I have a few close friends. I try to keep people at a distance. I have an abundance of close friends. Have you ever betrayed a friend? No. I'd never contemplate such a thing, as I just previously answered this question where I was contemplating such a thing. Been tempted to do so, but I've never gone through with it. That's probably the most honest answer. Don't look at me like that. You know you've done that too. How do you view lifelong commitment to a single romantic partner? Well, given that I wrote a fantasy novel in which pretty much everybody has a twin flame that would be a single romantic partner, Such romance would be ideal if it's achievable, but more likely than not, it's probably unachievable because most people aren't able to satisfy everyone's needs. And if they are, you should hold on to that person. Do you insist on repayment when lending money to friends? Yes, and I write a contract. Yes, but I try to be flexible. No, although it's sure nice to be repaid. No, they just owe me a favor. I try to be flexible. Are you still in touch with childhood friends? If you're the same person that you were when you were a child, then that means that you haven't grown sufficiently as a human being. Now, if you have people that you're childhood friends with, that you grow up with, I mean, you can grow in the same general direction. I think I'll stick with that answer. Do you donate time and money to improve the local community? Yes. I donate as much as I can once my own needs are met. The nation is at war. Your community is threatened with invasion. Well, if it's my community and it's being invaded, help defend it to my last breath with the rest of my community. So, like, if New Jersey was ever invaded by, like, China or something, put a gun in my hand and turn me loose. Otherwise, we shouldn't really be engaged in foreign wars. If you were injured and required immediate assistance, would members of your hometown agree to help? Yes. Why wouldn't they? And I would probably do the same for them. In fact, I have several people in the medical profession within my own family, so. Do you respect the laws and authorities of the community? See, that's a tricky question because having studied law, what I understand the law and authority to mean is not what the layperson understands the law and authority to mean. So you get this situation where you have some statute or whatever that's completely bullshit, such as the war on drugs, and it's like, do you respect that law? Well, clearly no. But if it's something like thou shalt not murder, that's obviously a law, and the authorities are right to enforce that. When it suits me, there are some laws that I just don't agree with. I don't pay attention. As a libertarian, honestly, when it suits me, because there are some laws I just don't agree with. Although, when it suits me makes it seem like you're fickle. There are some laws I just don't agree with. Do members of your hometown shun, avoid, or mock you? In my personal life, I'm pretty normal, so. Would you stand for office or seek to represent the interests of the community in some public manner? To do so would be an honor. Of course, it's everyone's duty to do so, only if no one else can handle the job. No, I don't want the responsibility. So here's the thing. So I've actually considered this on multiple occasions. In fact, I unironically did something similar to Styx Hexenhammer when he just sort of threw his name in the hat for governorship of Vermont. I was very disappointed with the way that Governor Phil Murphy was running New Jersey, and so I just posted similar sentiments online. It's like, just put my name in the hat too. I can do a better job. I didn't think that I would win because I don't have any kind of name recognition or presence, but and even then it was mostly because other people weren't doing it. So I mean, like, I'm happy to let Rand Paul take the reins, for instance. Your country is racked with famine. Would you be gardening? Probably. Share what food you had with others. Eat as little as possible yourself and share the rest. Steal what food you need to survive. Steal as much food as possible. why are we resorting to stealing food instead of being intelligent about this and like growing it ourselves and being self-sufficient? Although I guess that's kind of implied in the way the question is worded. I mean, even in times of famine, I wouldn't necessarily be inclined towards stealing, but then everything else requires that you share. Eat as little as possible and share the rest. If offered enough money, would you covertly assassinate the president? Well, again, to be consistent, it would be helpful to know up front just how much money we're talking about here. If you've read through my blogs and my Twitter feed, you know that I'm a sometimes Trumper, and I have an overall positive rating of the president, particularly when it comes to things like North Korea or defeating ISIS and pulling out of foreign wars, trade deals, and so forth, things that I'm not really sure anybody else would be suited to do. I definitely can't imagine anybody else would have had the success that he had with North Korea, and that's probably one of the single biggest issues the world is facing right now, is ending the Korean War after 60 some odd years. I think it's 60 years. No, although a vast sum of money would tempt me. The problem is if I put that down, Secret Service is going to come to my door. So no, no, absolutely not. Would never consider such a thing. You saw nothing. A rogue state unleashes a laboratory-created disease on the nation. Would you undertake a dangerous mission to find the cure, heal the sick as best you can, avoid contact with the sick, flee the country? Why am I being tasked with covert operations? I'm not Will Smith from I Am Legend. I would probably be healing people and avoiding contact. Flee the country. Depends on the disease. If it's anthrax, I might have to. It also depends on where it's located. Depends on the disease. In terms of D&D characters, probably healing the sick. Do you respect the lawful authority of the government? Our leaders are generally fair. I support the government. No. Politician is no better than anyone else. Politicians are invariably corrupted by power. So here's the thing about this last one, is there's that famous phrase by Lord Acton where he says, power tends to corrupt and absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. People always leave off the word tends in there. And so they think that all power corrupts when that's not really true. Just like people think that Jesus said that money is the root of all evil when that's not true. He said the love of money is the root of all evil, which is completely different. I mean, being obsessed with and attached to money and power is a problem and what makes a person corrupt, but those things in and of themselves are, again, money is just a form of power, and power is a fundamental aspect of human life that you need. I mean, the sun is power. We couldn't live without the sun, obviously. You know, even social justice warriors and political activists of that nature are seeking power for themselves to overthrow the establishment. So, no politician is no better than anyone else. If you were offered a reasonably lucrative deal, would you spy for a hostile foreign power? Again, it would be helpful to have all the information up front before I make a decision. Yes, because this nation could stand to be knocked down a peg. Yes, because the nation's secrets mean little to me. No. I think that's something only a Hillary apologist would say. No, because I might get caught. No, because I'd never violate the trust my nation puts in me. I don't know if I would never violate it. I mean, if the country was doing something particularly deplorable. But I spy for a hostile foreign power. So here's the thing. If I worked for the government, I would definitely be a whistle. The idea of a nation having secrets means little to me, but I could see certain specific secrets being valuable as they affect people's lives. That's a tricky one. And again, probably going to get me put on some kind of watch list. But hopefully, since I've contextualized it, you'll understand what I mean when I click that. You know, the government is not an infallible force. I mean, if it devolves into tyranny, then it should be knocked down a peg. Do you rely on the government to enforce contracts and property rights? Yes, because maintaining the rule of law is more important than any individual dispute. And the courts are best equipped to handle such disputes. Kind of like that one better, actually. More important than any individual dispute. I could get into a whole tangent on contract law. Courts are best equipped to handle such disputes. Which, leaving it to the courts, is following the rule of law. So, if imprisoned, would you injure or kill others to escape? No. Why? Why would you think that? Guards are just doing their jobs most of the time. There are corrupt prison guards. No, except for minor wounds that will heal easily. I mean, it really depends. Why am I having to escape prison? I generally wouldn't do something deliberately wrong that would justify it. I wouldn't violate any moral codes, so it would probably be that I'm imprisoned for some bullshit reason. I think the question is sort of presuming that I'm going to try to escape anyway. Probably not, because, if I am falsely imprisoned, it's not the guards' fault that I'm there. They kind of have their hands tied and they're just doing their job. I mean, if they're being abusive to me while I'm in prison, then that's one thing, but no, I don't really bear them any grudge necessarily. It's not like they can just sort of unilaterally decide who should and shouldn't be in prison. Ostensibly, that's what the entire legal system is for by that point. Is it a supervisor's right to treat his employees badly? Depends what you mean by a right and what you mean by badly. How about this one? No one has any right to treat another badly at all. I'm assuming by badly they mean like overtly abusive and not like, minor petty discrimination type stuff. You have accidentally hit someone while driving your car. Well, as unlikely as that might be, try to pin the crime on the other, how do you know, turn yourself in, throwing yourself on the mercy of the court to make restitution to the victim. Probably just make restitution. Would be my natural inclination. If guilty, would you confess to a crime? Depends on the crime. I mean, if it's something like smoking pot, who cares? If it's something like murder, I can't really see myself doing that. It doesn't say if I'm being charged with a crime. It says if I'm actually guilty. Try and prove my own innocence. Well, you can't prove your own innocence. That one just doesn't work. I have to think that if I'm guilty and I deliberately did something, that I would probably try to justify it. I don't like this question. In general, it's better to make the court prove your guilt anyway. If I'm really guilty, they should have an easy time of that and justice will be served. Would you express a revolutionary political opinion if threatened with punishment? Well, I mean, I'm a libertarian, so pretty much all of my political opinions are kind of revolutionary to some extent. I don't know why I would need to be threatened with punishment. Somebody's got to speak the truth. I guess they're assuming your own opinions. So, like, are you shy about saying what you really mean in public? Somebody's got to speak the truth. That's just a general good practice. While traveling on vacation, you witness an assault. You are ordered to testify, which will cut short your vacation significantly. Well, that sucks, but remain reluctantly, testify, and leave. What is the best use of wealth? Good question. To help the destitute and less fortunate, provide for the needs of friends and family, to stay on top of the heap yourself, to not only stay on top but keep others from climbing your level. So basically what socialists think capitalists do. Provide for the needs of friends and family, and by extension, working outwards in your sphere of influence to community and your fellow man. When confronted by beggars, do you give generously, give moderately, give only what you wouldn't miss anyway, $1 or $2 at most, ignore them as you walk by? So, here's an interesting thing. In my real life, I used to give to beggars quite regularly, but if you're living in or around somewhere like a big city such as New York, there's just way too many people coming up to you and asking for help, and you're pretty quickly going to lose money if you do that. It also doesn't really help them in the long run, because just giving them money, it's like that if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach a man to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime kind of thing. Simply giving them money won't solve their problems in the long run. But you also still feel bad and want to help them. I've actually been on both sides of that situation. What I think is more important is to give, if you're going to give to somebody, give them the thing that they need to survive. So like, buy them lunch or something like that. And obviously don't do it if you can't afford it yourself. So give them only what you wouldn't miss. If you could buy counterfeit $100 bills for $1 each, would you buy and spend them? I would kind of be an idiot if I didn't, but I also don't want to get caught and go to jail for counterfeiting. Because if you knew that they were counterfeit and you did that, you would essentially be complicit in the crime. No, it's too risky. It's really not worth it, honestly. Plus, this one, the business owners and employees have families to feed. I mean, as long as they don't know that it's counterfeit, I mean, they would effectively be holders in due course and they wouldn't face any repercussions, but they'd probably still have to turn the money back anyway. It's just going to create a whole big cascade of problems and deflate the value of the currency and sap people of purchasing power. There's a reason why fraud and counterfeit are moral crimes and why we punish people for that. You have 2 job offers. One pays more, but the other is secure and steady. Which do you choose? Again, how much are we talking here? So I've actually worked both types of jobs. I've worked jobs where you get sort of a low-income salary, but you're getting paid every week or two, and you know about how much you're going to get as long as you show up to work every day. And then I've also worked jobs where you're in commission, where the earning potential is higher, but it's kind of feast or famine. I think I would prefer security, honestly, at least when it comes to jobs that pay. Secure job, unless the other job was outrageously lucrative. Yeah, we'll go with that. What's the best path to wealth? It's a matter of luck and being in the right place at the right time, staying flexible so you can take advantage of good opportunities, following a long-term plan that incorporates a comfortable level of risk, hard work, and perseverance. So, realistically, in order to become wealthy, you need all of these things, but in terms of what's the best plan, following a long-term, staying flexible, following a long-term plan. If you accepted a job or contract, would you try to finish the task even if it got more dangerous? Yes, because my word is my bond. Yes, because it's good to have a reputation for dependability. You can bet I'd be renegotiating. If it's no longer a good deal, then the deal is off. So I've actually done this before, where I've willingly put myself at risk or not reported harm and injury that I've sustained in the course of a particular job just out of a sense of duty. So I would have to say this one. Yes, because it's good to have a reputation for dependability. It also makes you stronger in certain ways. What's your age? I'm not telling you. We're going to do that one off camera. Chaotic good human druid. Not what I was expecting. 5th level. Ability scores 14, 15, 17, 16, 16, 16. Chaotic good. Chaotic good character acts as his conscience, directs him with little regard for what others expect of him. He makes his own way, but he is kind and benevolent. He believes in goodness and right, but has little use for laws and regulations. He hates it when people try to intimidate others and tell them what to do. Follows his own moral compass, which, although good, may not agree with that of society. Chaotic good is the best alignment you can be because it combines a good heart with a free spirit. Oh, I like that. However, chaotic good can be a dangerous alignment when it disrupts the order of society and punishes those who do well for themselves. Yep. As Cassie J says, when you try to humanize your enemy, you very quickly become dehumanized by your community. Race. Humans are the most adaptable of the common races. Short generations and a penchant for migration and conquest have made them physically diverse as well. Humans are often unorthodox in their dress, sporting unusual hairstyles, fanciful clothes, tattoos, and the like. I'm very much opposed to tattoos, so not for me, thank you. But otherwise, sure. Actually, I just recently created a character who is a human. Human cleric, actually. Although druid was a tempting option given the play that I was considering. Druids gain power not by ruling nature, but by being at one with it. They hate the unnatural, including aberrations or undead, and destroy them when possible. Druids receive divine spells from nature, not the gods, and can gain an array of powers as they gain experience, including the ability to take the shapes of animals. Shape-shifting is pretty cool. Scary, but cool. The weapons and armor of a druid are restricted by their traditional oaths. not simply training. A druid's wisdom score should be high, as this determines the maximum spell level that they can cast. Cool. So here's a detailed result for that. Lawful good, I got 20. Neutral good, 20. Chaotic good, 24. I guess that's why I got that. Lawful neutral, true neutral, 16. So I was actually expecting something more along the lines of neutral good to true neutral. Chaotic neutral, 20. Again, not surprising. So one of the more recent characters I played was chaotic neutral bard drow redeemed cultist. That was pretty fun. Everyone in my group really liked the way that I played her. Lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. Yeah, I'm not a very evil person, as you can well imagine. But we are all human. Law and chaos, 6, 6, 10. I think part of this is skewed by the fact that having studied law, I'm using a different definition of law than they are. They tend to, most people who are untrained tend to include things like statutes in their calculations, whereas when I say law, I generally mean natural law as opposed to man-made law, unless it's like within the natural order of things. Good and evil. 0% evil. Nice. Race. Human, dwarf, elf, gnome, halfling, half-elf, half-orc. I wanted to be a drow. I guess they didn't have that option. Class, barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, fighter. Yeah, low fighter, not surprising. Monk, paladin, ranger. I used to play ranger and rogue all the time when I was younger. Sorcerer, not surprising. Wizard. I like sorcerer a lot, actually. Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters in the Marvel Universe. Okay, so those are my results.